Dark Night of the Scarecrow from 1981 is the first feature-length horror film to feature a killer scarecrow as the main antagonist. Now you think a film about a killer scarecrow going around murdering people should be at least rated R, but alas, Dark Night of the Scarecrow was a made-for-TV horror film. Welcome to the HellBound Horror Show. Now there are some awesome made-for-TV horror films like Steven Spielberg's first major film, Duel, Stephen King's Salem Lot, and of course, It. Dark Night of the Scarecrow is often regarded as one of the best made-for-TV horror films of all time, topping many lists. So does it fall into the many pitfalls that many made-for-TV movies fall into, or does it rise above the crop? Let's go out your wander and find out. The film opens with Bubba, this mentally challenged man hanging out with the young Mary Lee Williams. They play well together, with Mary Lee singing and making Bubba a flower necklace. We get the idea that they've been friends for a long time. She is patient with him, and he is kind and gentle in return. We see the different characters throughout town and get the feeling that none of the adults like Bubba, whether it be prejudice or the fact that he hangs out exclusively with young children. Poor Bubba can't get a break. They consistently beat up Bubba and harass the poor guy. Mary Lee gets the bright idea to sneak into someone's backyard, but Bubba doesn't follow as he knows he's not allowed to do so. A vicious dog attacks Mary Lee, and Bubba breaks into the yard, trying to save her. We then cut to Bubba delivering the body of Mary Lee to her parents' house. This is the final straw for the townfolk. Otis, the postman, leads the charge and gets many townfolk together for a lynch mob to finally put an end to Bubba. They chase him to Bubba's mother's house, where she tells Bubba to play the hiding game. Bubba disguises himself as a scarecrow, but the hounds find him. The mob fires multiple rounds into Bubba, and not a single one of them is firing their gun the correct way. You're not supposed to shoot from the hip, you're supposed to put the butt of the gun on your shoulder to avoid kickback and to improve accuracy. Hate when movies do that. With the inaccuracy out of the way, the gang gets a call over the radio telling them to stop chasing Bubba because little Mary Lee is alive and Bubba actually kinda saved her life. Oops. Otis, knowing that he did something wrong, puts a pitchfork in the defenseless, dead hands of Bubba to try to say that Bubba had a weapon and that they only shot him in self-defense. Bubba was attached to the structure of the Scarecrow mount, and he only had a pitchfork, and the other guys had guns and shot him like 30 times. Come on, dude, that's not gonna hold up in court. It holds up in court. Otis lies, and it is deemed that there isn't enough evidence. And just like that, the murderers are set free. Mary Lee looks for Bubba even though the adults tiptoe around the subject and tell her that Bubba isn't around anymore. She creepily states,
"Bubba's not gone. He's just being silly. Don't you know what he's doing? He's playing the hiding game."
Weird things begin to happen to the lynch mob. One of them sees the Scarecrow out in his field. Otis claims that someone is trying to spook them, trying to make them confess. Next thing you know, one of them falls into the wood chipper. It could have been an accident, but there is some small evidence of foul play. Is it the ghost of Bubba out for his revenge? Is it someone else trying to avenge the death of Bubba? Or is it the guilt and paranoia building up in these men and becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy? Dark Night of the Scarecrow is a simple movie that borders on the line of a revenge film and a psychological horror movie. But at the end of the day, it's still a slasher film. It was made for TV, so there is no gore, nor is there any TNA. In most cases, that would automatically become a don't watch for most people. But Dark Night of the Scarecrow does an excellent job of going the creepy and spooky approach. The scares are subtle and the deaths in concept are grisly, however the lack of gore and violence does feel a bit weird. I can't tell if the made-for-TV limitations made the film better by making it more subtle and creepy, or if it hindered the project by not fully fleshing out some of the more gruesome details. The film does have its merits, and we'll get more into that later, but the flaws are overwhelming. The actors may look the part, but there is some bad overacting. Cinematography is straight up bland. It really feels like it was made for TV. There is zero creativity in shot selection. The plot is a bit scarce, so not a ton happens there, so most of the runtime is either talking or checking something spooky out. So with little action and boring shot selection, it makes for a very plain and boring film visually. It's not 1981 anymore. Films, and especially television, have evolved greatly since Dark Knight of the Scarecrow was released. What might have worked in 1981 doesn't really hold up today. The film is just too plain and slow for my liking, and I usually love slow burns. Even though the film struggles a bit, there are some amazing ideas going on. I love the basic outline of the story. Do I think there could have been more added? Yeah, for sure, but the general premise is solid. It's the first killer Scarecrow movie, and that is pretty freaking monumental. The mask of the Scarecrow is effective and creepy. I love it. I also love the ambiguity of it all. A lot of the scenes are from the perspective of an unreliable narrator. Is there a supernatural force, or is it all in their heads as the stress and guilt build? You are left to form your own opinion, and I love that. Even though I don't love this film, if I would have stumbled upon it as a kid on TV late at night, it would have scared the crap out of me. For the time, this film was a masterpiece. However, I can't properly look at it now, knowing what I know, and appreciate it. Quick side story before I end the video. This is actually one of the first horror movies that I watched with my wife. We had just started dating, and I heard a ton of great things about Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, so I convinced her to watch it with me. I was hoping it would freak her out a bit and, maybe she would need a cuddle with me if she got scared. Well, she didn't get scared at all. We were so bored by this film on my first viewing. I had built my expectations too high for the film, and it let me down hard. It's not the masterpiece that many claim it to be, however, it did a lot for the horror genre, especially made-for-TV horror movies. Check it out, but keep your expectations low. After all, it's still an early 80s made-for-TV movie. And that's all I have for tonight, so thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe, and take care, everyone.